The newsreaders announced the headlines from the Acta Diurna. 772 ab urbe condita, 19 AD. An empire in mourning. Germanicus, son of Rome, has fallen. In a sorrowful blow to the empire, Germanicus Caesar, beloved heir of Tiberius Caesar and esteemed commander of the legions, has perished. His widow, Agrippina, beloved granddaughter of Caesar Augustus, journeys toward Rome bearing her husband's ashes. From the temples to the streets, the grief of the Roman people is unleashed, as they wonder how such a tragedy could have befallen a man so young and so virile. From his high portico of his Palatine villa, Tiberius looked down over the Forum Romanum, watching as Rome reacted to the devastating news. Wails of disbelief echoed through the streets, as if Germanicus belonged more to them than to his own family. Tiberius narrowed his gaze, his eyes tracing the growing throng as citizens flooded the Forum, their mourning cries carrying through the narrow streets. The louder their grief grew, the more it sounded to him like an accusation. Their devotion to Germanicus somehow more fervent in death than it had been in life. Tiberius scanned the crowd for familiar faces, men of rank and influence. As rumors of foul play began to take shape, he wondered which of them would be the first to whisper his name behind closed doors. Wasn't that Agrippina's intention? Why else had she acted as she had? His one-time stepdaughter turned daughter-in-law had made no secret of her belief that it was he who bore responsibility for her family's ruin. The deaths, the exiles, every misfortune she placed squarely at Tiberius's feet. But Agrippina's own questionable actions, those unspoken truths, were omitted from the Acta Diurna. The newspaper begun by Julius Caesar during his Gallic campaigns, and which now served to keep Romans informed of events throughout the empire, offered only a brief mention of Agrippina's actions in Antioch. The public, however, remained unaware of the details. During the funeral she organized for the weeping masses, Agrippina displayed Germanicus's body without clothing. Subsequent reports stated that half the mourners, those inclined to favor Agrippina, saw what she saw, the marks of witchery and poison on his corpse. Others, however, dismissed such claims, pointing instead to the physical devastations they expected to see from a man who had been violently ill for weeks. But beyond the display of a member of Rome's imperial family exposed before the masses, this funeral bore political implications that did not go unnoticed by Tiberius. Antioch, after all, was part of the Roman Empire. In Rome it was forbidden to cremate a body within the city gates. Even Agrippina's grandfather, Caesar Augustus, had respected this tradition, holding his funeral rites in the Forum Romanum and then transporting his body to the Campus Martius for cremation. The only time a body had been consumed within the city walls was after the crowds, wild with grief, laid hold of the body of Julius Caesar. Declaring him a god, they had first tried to cremate his body in the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, only to be fought off by the temple guards. Then they carried his corpse back into the Forum Romanum, where they built a makeshift pyre from furniture, weapons, shields, and whatever items they could lay hands on. For the last 63 years, Julius Caesar remained the only man to be cremated within Rome's walls, until now. The message Tiberius's daughter-in-law was sending was not subtle. Following the funeral in Antioch, Agrippina, accompanied by 4 of her children and the ashes of her husband, boarded a ship bound for Rome. Before his death, Germanicus had ensured the future stability of Rome's Syrian province. He appointed Gaius Sentius Saturninus, a former consul, as commander of Syria's Gallica, Ferrata, and Fulminata legions, and as acting governor of Rome's east. Until Tiberius confirmed the appointment or sent a replacement from the Senate, Sentius was charged with preventing the possible return of the province's former governor, Gnaeus Calpurnius Piso, and Germanicus had been right to do so. At approximately the same time that word arrived from Syria confirming the death of Germanicus, Piso's eldest son, also named Gnaeus, appeared in Rome with his wife and newborn baby. Sent by his father, young Gnaeus informed Tiberius that, upon hearing of Germanicus's death, Piso feared that the sudden void left by his passing would destabilize the balance of power in Rome's east. To ensure the stability of the province, Piso, his wife Plancina, and their youngest son Marcus had swiftly departed from the island of Kos. Despite the swirling rumors surrounding his involvement in Germanicus's demise, Piso was determined to reclaim Syria, in Tiberius's name, of course. As Gnaeus conveyed this news, Tiberius was left to ponder the duplicity of Piso's actions. His sudden return to reassert control over the Syrian province, while simultaneously sending one son to curry favor with Tiberius, was easy to see through. If Piso successfully reclaimed Syria, regaining command of the Pisonian legions he had long financed, Tiberius would face a real threat to his power. But if Piso failed, he could easily claim his efforts had been for Rome's good. But for Tiberius, already under public scrutiny, the maneuver felt too neat, too calculated. Piso's ambition had always stretched far beyond simple loyalty to the emperor, even when that emperor had been the divine Augustus. And the timing, the coincidence of Germanicus's death, the unrest in Syria, and the swift movements of Piso's family was far too convenient to ignore. This was no act of loyalty, it was a deliberate play for power. Piso would first turn to the Fulminata, the legion most loyal to him. Once secured, he would use their influence to persuade the Gallica and Ferrata legions to follow his cause. Tiberius acted swiftly in response. He sent immediate orders to Syria, confirming Germanicus's appointment of Gaius Sentius Saturninus as governor and commander of the legions. Saturninus's task was clear: prevent Gnaeus Calpurnius Piso from gaining control of Rome's military forces at any cost. Piso, however, did not journey to Syria. Instead, he turned towards Cilicia, where he fortified himself in a stronghold called Calendaris. This position, with its hilltop advantage and clear view of Calendaris harbour, provided him both protection and strategic oversight. The Fulminata legions, currently in winter camp at Raffinea, were still loyal to him, but Piso couldn't risk directly approaching them and falling into the hands of Sentius Saturninus. Instead, he dispatched Domitius Sella, a centurion from the Fulminata legions, to act in his stead. Sella had already travelled to the island of Kos, bearing the news of Germanicus's death and reporting the Fulminata's eagerness to once again meet the father of the legions. Sentius Saturninus, occupied with other matters, would not be looking for a centurion. With Sella's help, Piso hoped to sway the Gallica and Ferrata legions to his side as well. Piso's younger son Marcus, not yet old enough to don a man's toga, was also dispatched in his father's name. After fulfilling the orders of Germanicus to distribute grain to the starving Egyptians, the 10th Legion Gemina began its march towards Syria, where they would receive their discharge notices. Marcus Piso, accompanied by a formidable military entourage, intercepted the Gemina, who were likely unaware of the suddenly shifting allegiances in Syria and Cilicia. In the name of his father, governor of Syria Gnaeus Calpurnius Piso, he commanded the legion to redirect to Cilicia. In addition to sending Sulla and Marcus to rally Rome's eastern legions, Piso ordered the governor of Cilicia, Lucius Marcius Censorinus, to provide his legions. He also reached out to King Sampsiceramus of Emesa and King Aretas of the Nabateans, demanding they supply auxiliary forces. Deserters from Rome's eastern legions, mercenaries seeking coin, and runaway slaves hoping for freedom, all made their way to the harbour of Calendaris, each one eager to join the growing army of Gnaeus Calpurnius Piso, and Piso welcomed them all. As Tiberius had feared from the moment Rome's eastern legions were divided into Pisonian and Caesarian factions, Rome once again stood on the cusp of civil war. The winds of rebellion had gathered not on some distant frontier, but in the very heart of the empire. With each passing day, Piso's ambitions took root deeper in Syria, and the factions in the east grew bolder. The blood of Germanicus had already stained the soil. Would the streets of Rome soon follow?